Hello again everybody and welcome to another episode of BitNote. We've got a great selection of video game music, so have a listen and hope you enjoy. Hey everyone, and I've got two really great games to play music from on this show. The first one is a game that was released in 2012, and despite the fact it didn't have much hype beforehand, ended up taking everyone by surprise for being an actually really good game. And I am not a dissenter in this regard, I definitely agree with it. Before I talk more about the game, I'm just going to play a bit of a track from it. The track is one of the bits of atmospheric music in the game that really works out, and the game it is from is called Dishonored. So, have a listen, and hope you enjoy. And that was really great atmospheric music there. As I said, it's from the game Dishonored, and it takes place in a pretty interesting setting. It's kind of a mix between a couple of things, like the 1600s, mixed along with London and Edinburgh at the turn of the 19th century, so Victorian, mixed with a lot of like kind of steampunk thing, which you kind of get with that time, mixed with all this weird technology magic. And in fact, there's more than a little inspiration I noticed from Half-Life 2 before I realized, oh wait a sec, apparently the artistic director of Half-Life 2 also worked on this game. And speaking of the people who worked in this game, boy, there were people from Deus Ex and everything. There are a lot of really cool games that were made by first-person games that a lot of PC gamers really loved, and a lot of people who worked on that actually worked in this game. So this is just a case of a lot of really experienced and people who know their stuff, really skilled people working on a great game and turning out a great game as a result. So, what is so great about Dishonored? Well, it is a standard first-person game, but one of the strengths about it is that you actually make decisions about how you approach a given situation, despite the fact that in a lot of first-person games, you just it's about defeating everyone in the level and moving on to the next. Now, this isn't a new concept. As I said, this goes back even as far as games like Deus Ex, which was around 2000, 2001. one sort of area. And there were just a lot of great games like this where, it's like, I don't want to go around like going around shooting and killing people. Maybe I just want to like subdue them instead, because I want to sort of like defeat them, but I don't want to actually end up, creating orphans or widows, as the case may be. And yes, in this game, if you kill people, sometimes another guard will yell out, "You just made someone a widow, you idiot!" And it also gets pretty crazy. And speaking of another game that also does this, Alpha Protocol, which also generally lets you subdue instead of kill, also has this statistic of how many orphans you've created in the course of the game. So it is, like I said, it's not something new, but it doesn't come up that often, and I love it when it does, because it gives you an entire decision about how you play the game. In this game, on my first playthrough, I went around trying to not kill anyone I could, which was actually slightly trickier than I thought, especially since you are sent on assassination missions, and I thought that you didn't have any choice about whether you could kill the people you were assassinated, but it turns out you usually are given another option that will get rid of the person without actually killing, although whether that's actually better for them is completely another issue altogether. But the point is, you want to get through, you don't have to outright kill every single person, and that's the game you play. And after I played my first playthrough, I played my second playthrough. In this case, I killed every single person I damn well wanted to, including using a lot of strengths and abilities that I couldn't use the first time around because I was playing pacifist. And yes, you do get abilities. There's also a variant of magic in this game, so you can use magic or you can use really clever contraptions. If it's reminding you slightly of BioShock, yeah, it does have that similarity, all right. But of course, like any good work of art or any good product, it takes a lot of things from different sources, but creates something that's really its own, and I just love it. I just love how you're able to make your own decisions in the game. I love how there's just so many different clever parts or ways of approaching a given situation, and I just love that, like being violent, which is often the more easier things, is a viable course of action, but it still does have consequences. For instance, there's this small little child, basically a child empress, and she's completely smitten with you at the beginning of the game, but if you act like a complete jerk and a murderous person, that will change both how she views you and also how she views the world around us. I mean, do you really want to be that good an example to a future leader of the entire country? Or will she be a future leader of the entire country? Because obviously there's a little more. Obviously, it's not a set thing, and once again, that's another thing that can change depending on how you play the game. But I'll leave it at that. Really great game. It should be available on all major platforms, including PC, which of course, you could play it with a gamepad, but I like to play it with a keyboard and mouse. And especially, I did try playing it with a joypad, but it's just easier that way. And yes, like I said, there's a lot of great games. There's a lot of great music in the game. Most of it was made by David Licht, who has also made music for a lot of other things, mainly TV shows, such as, for instance, Dexter, if you remember it. That's a TV series about the serial killer who's actually a good serial killer, which, okay, talk about subject matters that have various morality systems, okay then. But yes, I do like Dishonored, and it's a pretty cool game. Alright, this is from the very end of the game, and this is by Jon Licht and Daniel Licht. So, have a listen, and hope you enjoy.
chest, or we step into war with our hearts on the line. The dirt on our boots, it shakes free over time. Music it fades, the violence slows, the darkness it rises as the sun goes. Love is a distant aroma at best, a withering smile that's stuck deep in your vest. The night air it wraps its fingers around your body, it shakes from a now distant sound. Oh, the sound of her voice, a sweet symphony, played over and over until you are free. The music it fades, the violence slows, the darkness it rises as the sun goes. Can you feel the new day rising, climbing up the east horizon, breaking toward us, down we'll fight through each and every one will start new. Well, we shall not stumble, no, we shall not fall. We shall not crumble, no, we shall stand tall. Well, death it will come, as sure as the night. But we will not run, no, we live but to fight. Oh, with blood on our hands and dirt on our knees, we tear at the ones who brought the disease. The darkness rises as the sun goes. Can you feel the new day rising, climbing up the east horizon, taking hold us down, we'll fight through each and every one will start new. Can you feel the new day rising, climbing up the east horizon, taking hold of down, we'll fight through each and every one will start new.
And that was Honor for All by Jon Licht and Daniel Licht from the game Dishonored, which was developed by Arkane Studios. And by the way, when I first listened to it, I thought it said something about Easter Rising, and I was wondering, wait, what? But apparently they're just saying East Horizon, so don't worry, like it's coming, the sun is rising up the East Horizon. Alright, well, we're trying to see if I can get that. I think I'll just move on to the next game. The next game is Recettear. Speaking of games that basically as the term is, sleeper hits, or games that came out of nowhere and suddenly a lot of people really liked, Recettear was a game that popped up on Steam and other digital distribution networks on the internet a while back, and it didn't really have much marketing or anything. It was kind of like a Japanese indie game that a couple of Americans managed to port over to English and, translation basically. And essentially, it was a nice little game that they liked, and suddenly it became hugely popular, and a lot of people really liked it. The central conceit of the game is that you actually are in an role-playing game. Now, as you know, most role-playing games are pretty straightforward. You are the hero, there's an evil, you make your way through dungeons, you buy equipment, everything else. But this whole game is told from the perspective of a person who actually works in an item shop. In other words, selling items to heroes or other people. And this is where it gets kind of interesting. You basically have to stock your shop with a bunch of items that you have a good sense that that people will actually buy. Then they come in, they buy their items, and then you make money and use that to buy more items to buy more stuff, and that's kind of fun. And what's more to that is that it has to be a bit more than that, because essentially you can actually partner with an adventurer to go into some ruins. You'll go as companions, they'll end up discovering more items, and you get those items and you bring it back to your item shop and you sell them. And meanwhile, you are actually dealing with a huge debt that has weekly repayments, and if you miss a single weekly repayment, you're completely screwed. So hooray for insolvency, I guess. But of course the game is more about capitalism, so it's all about you just trying to get those items, sell it to adventurers, and go on in that respect. It's got a very nice, bright and colourful soundtrack, and so without further ado, let me play one of the tracks from it. Have a listen and hope you enjoy. And that was Closed from the game Recettear, an item shop tale, and it was by EasyGameStation. Now, and localized by Carpe Fulgur, who were actually, this was the first game they localized to an English-speaking market, and they did a good job with a lot of little funny stuff as well. They actually managed to sort out little things. Speaking of also fictional universes, of course, Recettear is taking place in, like I said, an adventure kind of land that also seems kind of inspired by France, which is kind of a little bit of fun. As you can see, it's got a very nice, bright and colourful soundtrack, and I'm going to play another track from you right now. This one is Wandering Fairy. Have a listen and hope you enjoy. And that was a pretty good track there. That was The Wandering Fairy. It is from the game, as I said, Recettear, and the music of that game was from actually a variety of sources. Team Mbox, Araibear, Sarumotto, and Nia. So they were the people who made the music for this game, which included this track and the last track. So as I said, Recettear is a very fun game, and like I said, there's a bit of trickiness to it. It's got a very cute story. The protagonist, who's called Recette, and the father basically left off, went adventuring, left her alone, and basically she has to turn her house into an item shop in order to make back the debt. The fairy is there helping her in every point in trying to give her advice and help, and she meets a great cast of eclectic characters and tries to basically sell them stuff and also become their friends, and also engage in a lot of fun little adventures around the place. On top of that, she also goes venturing with, like I said, adventures. And the fun thing is that sometimes you can take items from your shop and loan them to adventurers, so they have better equipment and weapons in order to defeat all the monsters. But then if they get lost in the dungeon and die, or they basically, well, they don't really die, but they get restored back, there's a chance they could end up losing all the cool little items. And the fun thing is, though, if you sell them a really high quality item, then they'll be able to hold on to it forever and you'll be able to deal with all this sort of stuff. So, I leave you with Recettear full theme tune. This is the ending tune of Recettear, but also the main tune and everything so far. As I said, the music was by Team Mbox, Araibear, Sarumotto, and Nia. And also, actual singer, though, because it does have vocals, is by Sora Yuizuki. I'll leave you there. This is by Recettear, by EasyGameStation, localized by Carpe Fulgur. Have a listen and hope you enjoy.
ために